The eyes in the corn. I've lived next to these cornfields all my life, but they never bothered me until last summer. Before that, they were just tall walls of green whispering in the wind, rustling with secrets that never felt like they were meant for me. I used to walk through them as a kid, even play hide and seek with my cousins between the rows. The corn was comfort, familiar, predictable, but something changed. I noticed it first when I started running in the mornings again. After Mum passed and Dad took to the bottle harder than usual, I needed something to clear my head. So, I picked a route that looped behind the barn, past the field, and along the fence line. One morning, just as the sun broke over the hills, I felt like I wasn't alone. It wasn't just the wind brushing the tassels or the faint calls of crows. I could feel it pressure behind my back, like someone walking a step behind me, but never quite catching up. When I turned, the rows of corn just stood there, tall and still, but the air felt heavier, denser, and I could swear I saw something glint between the stalks. Not a person, not an animal. Something too still. Eyes. The kind of eyes that don't blink, the kind that make your throat tighten. I told myself it was just the morning fog messing with my head, but the feeling didn't go away. The next day, the eyes were closer. I stopped going on runs after that. My cousin Tyler came down from Chicago a week later. He had that restless energy, always chewing gum, always needing a distraction. He hated being stuck in rural nowhere, and I didn't blame him. He kept asking if we could go into the field at night, maybe smoke something, listen to music. "Your neighbors won't care," he said. "There's nothing out here." "There's something," I told him, half joking. "The corn watches." He laughed until he realized I wasn't laughing too. "You serious?" I hesitated. "Just, don't go in there alone." That night, I caught him sneaking out with a flashlight and a half-charged Bluetooth speaker. I followed him without saying anything, barefoot, quiet, heart-hammering. I didn't know why I was so scared. It wasn't like the corn could do anything. But when I stepped between the rows after him, the temperature dropped. It was like walking into a mouth. We didn't talk at first. He was maybe 10 feet ahead, bobbing his head to muffled music. The flashlight swung lazily side to side, glinting off the stalks. I couldn't help but look at the way the leaves seemed to shimmer in its light, slick and oily, almost too wet. When he stopped, I caught up and crouched next to him. "There's something ahead," he whispered. "Do you hear that?" I held my breath. A soft rustle, not the wind. It was moving against the direction of the breeze. Tyler raised the flashlight. Between the corn, maybe 20 feet ahead, something shifted. Not away toward us. We froze. And then we saw them. 2 pinpricks of reflected light, eye level. No blinking, no movement. The flashlight flickered. I grabbed Tyler's arm. "Go." We turned and ran. Only, we couldn't. The rows didn't open behind us. We were sprinting, but the path shifted with us. The leaves brushed our arms harder now, grabbing, dragging. The rows we'd just come through were gone, replaced with more corn, dense and unmoving. I tried to push sideways through the stalks, but they wouldn't give. Like walls, the corn blocked us. It moved. Tyler screamed, not in fear, in pain. Something lashed across his face. Not a leaf. It was sharp, wet. Blood splattered on the dirt. I yanked him forward, into the next row, dragging him. Behind us, the eyes were still there. More of them now. Too many. I don't remember how we got out. Just a sudden break in the stalks, the smell of smoke, and the barn's floodlight blinking through the early dawn. Tyler collapsed onto the grass, panting and clutching his cheek. There were 3 deep gashes down his face, like he'd been clawed. I helped him inside and we said it was a dog, a raccoon, something wild. But I knew. We avoided the field for the next few days. Tyler wouldn't talk about it, and I didn't push, but the field didn't like being ignored. I woke up 3 nights later to the sound of whispering. I thought it was the wind, but when I leaned out my window, the night was still. Dead still. And yet I heard its soft, chattering voices. They came from the field, carried on something heavier than air, the sound of many mouths speaking all at once. Tyler was standing at the edge of the corn, barefoot. I didn't remember him leaving the house. "Tyler," I hissed. "What are you doing?" He didn't answer, just stared straight ahead, unmoving. I ran out after him, heart hammering. He didn't turn until I grabbed his arm. He looked at me like he didn't recognize me. "They're calling," he said softly. "They said I could see her." "See who?" "Your mum." I froze. My chest tightened. "That's not funny." "She was in there. I heard her voice." That was the first crack. The moment I realized whatever was in the field wasn't just watching, it was learning, using what it saw. The next morning, we found the neighbor's dog dead on our side of the fence. Its eyes were missing, but there was no blood, just a strange black film on its fur. My dad didn't even notice. He'd slept through everything, drunk on the couch. I didn't tell him what Tyler said about Mom. That was ours to deal with. That evening, Tyler started drawing. Pages and pages of spiral patterns, tight rows that curved in on themselves like aerial maps of the cornfield. In the margins, he wrote things strange lines like, "We see because we are seen." The rows are endless inward. One step forward, 2 steps taken from you. I asked him what it meant, and he just smiled. Not his usual smirk, something tighter, something too wide. "They said I could stay, if I wanted." "Who's they?" He looked at me, dead serious. The eyes. That was when I started planning to leave. To get him out, to drive to Aunt Lynn's house or even the nearest town. But the road out was already gone. Not physically. It was still there. But every time we tried to leave, something happened. A flat tire. Engine trouble. Even the GPS stopped working, rerouting us endlessly through dirt roads that didn't exist. Once we ended up circling the same red barn 3 times, even though we only took right turns. Tyler said it was the field's way of telling us we weren't done yet. And then, one morning, he was gone. No note, no message, no sign of struggle, just open back door and a trail of that same black film on the floor, leading toward the field. I followed it, and I saw the stalks part for him, not like before, where they blocked us but willingly now, like they'd accepted him. I knew what that meant. Tyler hadn't been taken. He'd gone in on purpose. I didn't tell Dad. He wouldn't have listened anyway. Just sat there with the TV on, a bottle sweating in his hand, muttering about how kids these days had no sense of direction. He didn't even notice Tyler was missing until the following night, and even then, he assumed he'd just gone back to Chicago early. I couldn't stop thinking about what Tyler said. They said I could stay, if I wanted. What if that was the real trap? Not just fear or force, but choice. I waited until just after midnight. The wind had gone still again, completely silent, like even the trees didn't want to make noise. I packed a flashlight, a small knife, and my mum's old compass from the tackle box, just in case. I stepped into the corn barefoot. The first few rows closed behind me. They always did that now. I moved slowly, holding the flashlight low, watching for anything unnatural, but everything looked the same, row after row after row, identical stalks, same broken dirt, same rustling leaves that always seemed a second too late, like they moved after I'd passed. I followed the trail. It wasn't footsteps, it was subtler than that of feeling. Certain stalks leaned slightly more than others. Some leaves had an oily sheen, as if something brushed them with slick hands. And the further I went in, the less real it felt. Even the air started to feel wrong, like it had mass, like I was walking through fog I couldn't see. Then I started hearing the whispers. They weren't loud, just at the edge of my perception. Dozens of voices murmuring at once, like 100 people having a quiet conversation just behind a wall. I held my breath and kept walking. Then I saw him, Tyler. He was standing in a clearing at the heart of the field. The corn opened up in a perfect circle, 20 feet wide, the soil black and wet like raw meat. He stood barefoot, his arms out slightly, swaying side to side with his eyes closed. He was humming. "Tyler," I whispered. He didn't react. I stepped forward, and that's when I noticed what he was standing on. A spiral. Just like the ones he'd been drawing, a wide, burned groove etched into the dirt, curling inward like a snail shell. It hadn't been dug by hand. The edges were too clean, too perfect. I stepped closer. Tyler. This time his head turned, just a little. He opened his eyes, and they were wrong. No whites, no iris, just solid black, not like ink or paint, but like a void, a reflection of nothing. My knees almost buckled. "They see you now," he said, voice like broken glass dragged across wood. "Come home," I whispered. "Please." He smiled, but there was no kindness in it, only hunger. "They see everything you are," he said, "and everything you lost." I didn't tell Dad. He wouldn't have listened anyway. Just sat there with the TV on, a bottle sweating in his hand, muttering about how kids these days had no sense of direction. He didn't even notice Tyler was missing until the following night, and even then, he assumed he'd just gone back to Chicago early. I couldn't stop thinking about what Tyler said. They said I could stay, if I wanted. What if that was the real trap? Not just fear or force, but choice? I waited until just after midnight. The wind had gone still again, completely silent, like even the trees didn't want to make noise. I packed a flashlight, a small knife, and my mum's old compass from the tackle box, just in case. I stepped into the corn barefoot. The first few rows closed behind me. They always did that now. I moved slowly, holding the flashlight low, watching for anything unnatural. But everything looked the same, row after row after row, identical stalks. Same broken dirt. Same rustling leaves that always seemed a second too late, like they moved after I'd passed. I followed the trail. It wasn't footsteps. It was subtler than that, a feeling. Certain stalks leaned slightly more than others. Some leaves had an oily sheen, as if something brushed them with slick hands. And the further I went in, the less real it felt. Even the air started to feel wrong, like it had mass. Like I was walking through fog I couldn't see. Then I started hearing the whispers. They weren't loud, just at the edge of my perception. Dozens of voices murmuring at once, like 100 people having a quiet conversation just behind a wall. I held my breath and kept walking. Then I saw him. Tyler. He was standing in a clearing at the heart of the field. The corn opened up in a perfect circle, 20 feet wide, the soil black and wet like raw meat. He stood barefoot, his arms out slightly, swaying side to side with his eyes closed. He was humming. "Tyler," I whispered. He didn't react. I stepped forward, and that's when I noticed what he was standing on. A spiral. Just like the ones he'd been drawing, a wide, burned groove etched into the dirt, curling inward like a snail shell. It hadn't been dug by hand. The edges were too clean, too perfect. I stepped closer. "Tyler." This time his head turned, just a little. He opened his eyes, and they were wrong. No whites, no iris, just solid black, not like ink or paint, but like a void, a reflection of nothing. My knees almost buckled. "They see you now," he said, voice like broken glass dragged across wood. "Come home," I whispered. "Please." He smiled, but there was no kindness in it, only hunger. "They see everything you are," he said, "and everything you lost." I turned to run and slammed into a wall of corn. It hadn't been there a moment ago. The clearing was gone. Tyler was gone. All around me were stalks, thicker and taller than before. They bent toward me. Not from wind. There wasn't any wind. They bent because they wanted to. The whispers grew louder, clearer. They said my name. Over and over. "Come walk the spiral." I sprinted. No plan. Just a primal urge to get away. The rows blurred past me. My flashlight died. The compass spun wildly in my hand. And then, without warning, I burst out of the field, right into the gravel road behind the house. I collapsed on my hands and knees, heaving, mud in my mouth. The field rustled softly behind me, as if amused. Tula didn't come out. I didn't sleep again. The whispers got louder every hour, crawling under my skin, scratching at the base of my skull. I tried music, television, even holding my head underwater in the bathtub until I nearly blacked out anything to drown them out. Nothing worked. Then I saw Dad standing outside. It was just after 3 a.m. I looked out the kitchen window and spotted him at the edge of the field, barefoot, staring into the rows. Just like Tyler had. I ran outside. "Dad," I called. "What are you doing?" He didn't look at me. His head tilted slightly, like he was listening to something. "I can hear her," he whispered. My blood went cold. "Mom's gone," I said. She's not in there." He turned toward me slowly. There were tears in his eyes. His voice broke. "She called my name." I stepped between him and the corn. "Don't, please." He blinked. His eyes were glassy. For a moment, I thought I'd gotten through. But then his mouth moved, and it wasn't his voice that came out. "You are the hollow," it rasped, low and guttural. "You are the vessel. The field sees what you fear." I stumbled back. Dad collapsed, knees hitting the ground hard. When he looked up again, it was him, the real him, crying and confused. Where am I?" he murmured. I got him back inside and locked every door and window. But I knew then it wasn't enough. It could speak through people now. Use them. And it had seen what hurt me the most. That morning, I made a decision. I packed food, water, a flare gun from the shed, and a small hand mirror. I don't know why the mirror. Maybe I wanted something to remind myself of what I looked like, in case I forgot. In case the field tried to change me. I left a note for Dad. "I'm going to bring Tyler back. If I don't, burn the field. All of it." And then I stepped in. The corn greeted me like it was glad I'd returned. The rows adjusted. The whispering came instantly, like it had been waiting. I didn't fight the layout this time. I followed it. Let it pull me where it wanted. The spiral began almost right away. The rows curving inward, slowly, deliberately. As I walked, I passed things that didn't belong. A child's shoe, old and rotted. A deer's skull, polished clean but still bleeding. A pair of glasses with the lenses fogged from the inside. The whispering changed too. It stopped saying my name. It started using her voice. "Moms, you left me. You didn't even cry. Come closer, just a little more." I gritted my teeth and kept going. Eventually, the spiral narrowed into another clearing. Not the same as before. This one was alive. The ground writhed. Black, root-like tendrils pulsed underfoot. Cornstalks bent inward, forming an arch, a kind of ribcage of vegetation. And standing in the center, arms outstretched, eyes black and gleaming, was Tyler? He didn't look human anymore. His skin was tight and paper-thin, his teeth slightly too long. The spirals were carved into his arms and chest, not drawn, but etched deep, still weeping dark fluid. "Welcome back," he said. "Tyler," I whispered. "Come home." He tilted his head. "This is home." "No, it's not. You're not. You're not real anymore." "I am more real than I ever was," he said, smiling wide. "They gave me purpose. I see now." "What do you see?" I asked. His expression softened, almost pitying. "I see you, and I see what's coming. The spiral has only begun. You'll understand too, if you walk deeper." I pulled the flare gun from my bag and aimed it at the ground. "I'm not here to understand. I'm here to burn it down." His smile didn't break. "Then look behind you." He hesitated. And that's when I heard it. Breathing. Slow. Deep. Not human. I turned. Behind me, a shape rose from the stalks. Not corn, not wood. Something made of rose. Towering. Its body coiled in spiral layers. Its face a mess of twitching eyes. Some human, some not. Mouths blinked open where cheeks should be. It looked like a god made of fields. Or something older. "We see you." The voice didn't come from its mouths. It came from everywhere. I fired the flare. Not at it, but straight up into the sky. The blast of light split the spiral ceiling of corn, revealing open sky beyond. I saw stars. I heard the creature scream, not a sound, but a psychic rupture, like my brain was tearing. Tyler fell to his knees, clutching his head. The roots writhed. I grabbed him. "Come with me." He stared up at me, eyes flickering. "I can't." "Yes, you can." He blinked. And for a moment, I saw him. The real Tyler. He nodded weakly. We ran. The field howled. The corn fought us stalks, grabbing, leaves slicing. The roots tried to hold us back. But I had fire. I lit a torch from the flare's remains and slashed a path. We burst out into the open right as the sun cracked the horizon. Tyler collapsed beside me, coughing, eyes still black, but we were out. The field was still. For now. We didn't speak for a long time. Tyler lay in the dewy grass, shivering under a blanket I brought from the porch. His eyes were still black, but something in them had shifted, like the darkness no longer owned him. Not fully. I stayed beside him as the sun rose higher, afraid that if I blinked, the corn might reach for him again. When Dad came outside and saw us, he dropped his bottle and sank to his knees. For the first time since Mom died, I saw something real in his face. Fear, relief, regret, all knotted together in silence. "I saw her," Tyler whispered, later that morning. We were inside now, the three of us, the windows shut tight. I had sprinkled salt along every sill and doorway, a desperate gesture, something I'd read online. I didn't know if it helped, but it felt like doing something. "She was standing in the spiral," Tyler continued, voice thin. "But it wasn't really her, just her face. It used her like bait." He wouldn't look me in the eye when he said it. "Did you ever believe it was her?" I asked. He nodded, slowly. "The first time, I followed the voice. It sounded just like her, even the way she said my name. Then she asked me to bring you." My stomach turned. "She said you were already marked, that you'd walked too close. They didn't want to just take you, they wanted you to choose." The next few days blurred. Tyler slept a lot, but the nightmares were constant. He woke up screaming more than once, swearing the walls were breathing, or that the ceiling fan had started spinning the wrong direction. Dad tried to sober up, and to his credit, he stopped drinking cold. But he kept watching the field, like it might slither closer when no one was looking. We all did, every day. We didn't talk about Mom. Not yet. But I think we all heard her voice at some point. Even in the house. Then, on the 5th night, the field came closer. Literally. I woke up to the sound of a thump, looked out my bedroom window and saw that the corn had moved. The fence line was gone. The field had advanced by several feet, rows standing taller than they should, leaning inward like watchers. And something new stood in the yard. A scarecrow. I didn't put it there. Neither did Dad. It was wearing my mother's Sunday dress. We burned it. Dad doused it in gasoline, and I struck the match. As it burned, the corn rattled not from wind, but in anger. The whispering turned into screeching, high and constant like feedback. And then the spiral returned not in the field, but in the ash. A black spiral etched itself into the grass where the scarecrow had stood. That night, Tyler stopped breathing. He was on the couch, pale, eyes wide open, but unseeing. We called 911, but there was nothing they could do. No cause of death, no wounds, just silence. I saw it on his chest, a faint imprint of spirals where his heart had stopped. The field had waited. It had marked him. It let him go, only so it could take him back. The grief hit harder than I expected. Tyler had gone in with bravado and jokes, but under it all, he just wanted something to fill the void that Mom's death left in all of us. And the field knew. It feeds on that. Dad wanted to move away after the funeral, but I stayed. I couldn't let it spread, because the spiral, it's growing. Every few nights, the corn pushes closer, the whispers return, the spiral appears in strange places in puddles, on mirrors, once even on my skin, just a faint bruise in a perfect curl. Gone the next day, but I knew what it meant. The field doesn't want to be confined anymore. It wants in. I've tried warning people. The sheriff went missing last week, left a note on her desk, said she was going back in one last time. She never came back out. Now there are 2 scarecrows in the field, one in Mom's dress, one in a tan uniform. The spiral gets deeper. The rows shift at night. I hear them sometimes, not whispers anymore, but footsteps just outside the window, pacing, waiting. Sometimes I see the eyes again, just a pair at first, then another and another. Each row watches. And if I ever run again, the stalks will move to block me. Because the truth is, I did walk the spiral. And I saw what lives at the center. It's still watching me. Still hungry. And worst of all, it looks just like me now.